What's up, guys? Chris. I know I said in my last video that I don't do a lot of Pacquiao Mayweather videos unless it's predictions for their fights or post-fight thoughts. So this will be my last thoughts on it. It's just after re-watching the rebroadcast, I should say, of Pacquiao Bradley on HBO this weekend and their fight night in general. I had a couple thoughts. First up, as far as the Andy Lee Julio Cesar Chavez fight, good win for Chavez. Just a bigger, stronger guy, more durable as I expected. Was able to take Lee's best, and Lee wasn't able to take his best. Good win for Chavez. I don't know if we ever got that urine sample or not, but I think he should have provided one. But let's see if that rematch with Martinez as proposed is finally going to take place, and if so, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I think the fight's a lot more intriguing now than when it was first talked about. I think it's a lot closer fight now than it was just mostly because of the size difference between the two. Anyways, as far as the Pacquiao Bradley rebroadcast by HBO, as expected, it was primarily about showing or trying to show why Pacquiao was robbed and Bradley won an unjust decision. The first thing I noticed upon second viewing was how excited Jim Lampley would get every time Pacquiao would land a punch. He's very loud and makes sure to put an emphasis whenever Pacquiao would do anything, which definitely can sway the viewer. Also, something Harold Letterman said during the bout. One of the times when he was giving his scorecard throughout the bout, he said, in referring to Manny Pacquiao, "You can't take it away from a guy who smiles at the announcers." Really? Is that the new judging criteria? You smile at the announcers, so clearly you're winning the fight. I guess there's a reason why Harold Letterman is the unofficial ringside judge. And after the fight, when they asked Larry Merchant his take on it, his little spin was, now that Pacquiao has denounced gambling and womanizing, perhaps he upset the Vegas gods. Yeah. I mean, I know people saying Merchant's past his prime and says a lot of ridiculous things. He definitely provided ammunition for that point of view with that statement. I mean, Pacquiao didn't get the decision because he no longer a womanizer or gambler? Ridiculous. Anyways, moving on to the fight game with Jim Lampley. Now, I knew this was going to be a complete just all about Pacquiao because Lampley has a bit of a love affair with Manny Pacquiao. So the things I took from this. First off, I like the fact that they tried to reiterate the point of that Harold Letterman made before the Pacquiao Bradley fight about the three judges. And it's interesting to note that Harold Letterman pointed out that Dwayne Ford was the best judge, the man for the job that night. And he said that Jerry Roth was the quote-unquote scary judge and the one that they had to worry about, particularly for his judging of the Rios Abreu fight. Yet, Jerry Roth, the quote-unquote scary judge, is the only one that had it for Pacquiao. Yeah. Oh, as far as the fight itself, though, after rewatching it, now it's impossible to rewatch that fight without some kind of bias. You're going to look at it a certain way. If you thought Pacquiao won and he was robbed, when you look at it a second time or more times, you're probably just going to be able to find reasons why you thought Pacquiao won. If you thought Bradley deserved to win, same thing. Now I went into it looking as, okay, maybe Pacquiao didn't deserve to win, or maybe Bradley did really win. So I saw a lot of the rounds a lot closer than I did the first time around. I definitely didn't allow myself to be swayed by the broadcasters. To a fault, I may have been so annoyed by Lampley that I almost took the old George Foreman approach when he was a broadcaster, and I figured everything Foreman says is happening is the complete opposite of what's really taking place. Which was usually the case with Foreman. But as far as Lampley, there were certain points where I was going with that point of view, perspective. But yeah, I thought it was a much closer fight on second watch. And I could see where you could make a case for Tim Bradley. I also could see a draw or I can see why you think Manny Pacquiao won the fight. However, I do not, after watching it a second time, think it was a quote-unquote robbery. I thought it was a close fight. Could have been a draw, could have gone either way, but I don't think that it was a 11-1, 10-2 for Manny Pacquiao. Just my opinion. All right. CompuBox numbers. I know people point to those. I pointed those as well after the fight. I think they were a little bit deceiving. If you look at the fight and look at how many punches per round, they even said Pacquiao would then compared to Bradley, it just didn't seem to be accurate. I don't know. It just didn't seem to be on that night. And then they, of course, on the fight game with Jim Lampley, they re-showed round 7 without commentary, of course. They want you to think, okay, this is the round that the judges scored for Bradley when it's clearly a Pacquiao round. And Lampley goes, oh, well, without tipping our hand beforehand. Even though that's exactly what he was doing at the point. Basically, it was just trying to show, Pacquiao won this round, the judge scored it wrong. But watching the round, no commentary, it didn't really have that effect for me. It was a close round. I thought it could have gone either way. I just thought, and of course, Max Kellerman came on the fight game and said after rewatching the fight, he can only give Bradley one decisive round. I used to really like Max Kellerman. From the day he started on ESPN2 Friday Night Fights, I'd been a big fan of his. Around the Horn, even his show IMAX, just always liked his work and his opinion. But ever since, as of late with HBO, he's definitely become more of a company man, following in the steps of Jim Lampley. And that was affirmed with him saying he can only give Bradley one decisive round. That is just ridiculous. Bradley deserved more than one round in that fight, decisively. I don't know. Lampley sure didn't have this kind of an outrageous reaction when Pacquiao got the close decision over Marquez, and Marquez didn't get one scorecard in his favor in their third fight. It just goes to show he's a Pacquiao guy. He's an HBO guy. He's a biased broadcaster into certain fighters, Pacquiao mainly being one. And, he called it Anatomy of a Broadcaster Disaster, or Anatomy of a Decision Disaster, and I called it Anatomy of a Broadcaster Disaster. Lampley says to occupy boxing. I say to occupy Lampley. I just think that, they should watch the fight, try to call it unbiasedly, try to call it even, and if things don't go their way, just accept it. Lampley is like the guy who got dumped and can't get over it. But, I guess in closing, HBO, as I wrote in my article this past weekend, their slogan has long been, it's not TV, it's HBO. And at this point, they might as well also say, it's not boxing, it's HBO. Anyways, just curious to hear your guys' thoughts on the fight game with Jim Lampley, if you agree or disagree with my thoughts. And if you watch the fight over, which I'm sure you all have, or particularly if you watch Saturday night's broadcast, what's it out of the broadcast? Did you look at the fight indifferently after having watched it numerous times? Or do you think that you're right? Did Manny Pacquiao get robbed? Or can you see a case for Bradley, a draw? Any general thoughts? Do you think I'm just a hater on Jim Lampley? I am. Or do you think he is just overboard with his support of Manny Pacquiao? ScienceOfViolence.com, Science of Violence on Facebook, my Twitter account. Links all in the description of the video as always. Till next time, I'm out.